Welcome to the FitBiz Accelerator, your ultimate guide to launching, growing, and scaling a thriving online fitness business. I'm your host, Tobias Young, and whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, this podcast is packed with actionable tips, real-world strategies, and the insights you need to crush your business goals and build the business of your dreams. Now that you're here, let's dive in. Yo, welcome back to another episode of the FitBiz Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Tobias Young, and today we have a powerhouse guest who is about to drop some serious knowledge bombs for anybody that's looking to grow a thriving online fitness business, or even fitness business in general, I should say. And if retention and client results and understanding behavior change are areas that you're struggling with or that you just want to improve and optimize, then this episode is for you. So joining us today is Paul Meldrum, and he's a leader in fitness education and the driving force behind Ascend Education PT. And Paul's expertise, it lies in helping coaches master retention, understand human physiology, and leverage behavior change to be able to drive high-level client results, basically. So help your clients get way better results so they'll stay with you longer. And his approach has helped countless trainers only get better results and not only achieve that, but also build sustainable businesses that clients never want to leave. So now let's dive in and learn from Mr. Paul. So Paul, welcome to the show. For those of you who you might not know your story, can you give us just a quick little rundown of how you got started in the fitness industry and what you want to focus on as far as retention and or what led you to that? Focusing on retention and behavior change, I should say.
Cool. Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. And that was definitely the best intro I've ever received. So that's awesome. Everyone's like, all right, Paul, tell your story. And that was heaps better. So that was awesome. Thank you. So my story with the fitness industry is I've been doing it for 21 years now. So I've worked out it's over half my life, which is scary at one point, but also pretty cool in the other side. And I got into it because I finished school. I did good at school, but I didn't want to commit to a university degree and commit to the four more years of study in debt for not knowing what the hell I want to do. So I thought, I like lifting weights. I'm going to learn how to become a PT. And this is how retention actually began very, very early on in the piece. When I got the job in the gym, the first thing I did, I went straight into sales. And it was cold call, 250 people a day, the very old school aggressive model of selling, where just having a gym was enough to get by and make the sales. It was a big commercial chain, and I hired a coach who had won the PT on the Net International Trainer of the Year. For some reason, he was in my gym working in there as a subcontractor every now and then. And I thought I knew what I was doing with PT because I got qualified, right? I've been lifting weights for a while. I had a few niggling injuries, but who doesn't? And, that's what I thought. And very quickly in the first assessment with this coach and mentor, I realized I knew nothing. I realized within about 15 minutes, I was well out of my depth. Everything went over my head. And it was probably one of the worst feelings I'd ever had. Just the sheer lack of knowledge and comprehension that I had compared to someone who I thought we were equals. Damn, this is terrible. And after a month and a half of doing sales, I kind of burnt out. I didn't burn out in it. It wasn't why I was there. I got a job as a PT. And because I had mentored with this guy and had studied with him and he was my coach as well, the managers assumed I was the rehab guy. I knew how to train everyone. Hey, Paul, this person's got a disc bulge. This person's got osteoporosis. So I ended up really, really quickly going, damn, I have to learn a lot. And I was up on the internet all night, researching stuff. This is back in the days of internet being very slow, buying textbooks and reading them all night, doing Paul check courses and all kinds of stuff. Very quickly, early on in the piece, I realized that a lot of the other coaches there in the gym had zero customer service skills and had very little interest in actually retaining their clients and doing anything extra for them. And for me, I thought that was just crazy because I was looking at, it's not the easiest thing, it's not the hardest thing, but it's also certainly not the easiest thing in the world to sell someone and to invest a bunch of money with you. It's really easy to resell someone who's already invested money with you to give you more money and to work with you for a longer period of time. And they're more than likely going to refer you business if you do a good job. So straight away from that was 2003. I was focused on that with people straight away. So I always wanted to know how I could keep clients for longer, because I didn't want to do more trial sessions. I didn't want to have to walk the floor and do all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to have to pick up weights and go around and do all those things. I wanted to make money when I was in there, and I wanted to spend more time working with clients and actually getting really good at getting these clients results. So that's what I focused on. I worked on getting results, but I tried to come up with methods that would keep people with me for longer. And by doing that, I ended up within 2 years winning the National Trainer of the Year award in Australia, which is pretty fun, and had like 5 staff working for me in the gym, all subcontracting underneath me, training clients that I had got them and referred to them, and was actually mentoring 15 other trainers at that time, all from the same gym, on how to do the thing, how to actually just basic screening and movement assessment and stuff like that. So straight away, I was like, I want to do retention. And I always thought it was the most important thing. And it kind of, I would say, not polluted is the right word. It gave me a false expectation of what was possible or what was normal. Okay. So when I left the commercial gym space, I kind of went out on my own and started like a musculoskeletal rehabilitation clinic, which then turned into a rehabilitation and PT clinic, which then turned into a gym, to a semi-private gym, to a big facility. And up until the point where we got to the big facility, which was 400 plus PT members, all doing semi-private PT, I didn't do anything extra for retention except just do what I had already done, or what I had always done, which was, be good at it, but then have some strategies to give people on board. Like I was doing a form of online training in 2004, which was getting people to come in, see me once, give them a folder with all their programs, and say you're coming back in a month. And I had from memory, about 80 to 100 clients in the gym in the first 2 years doing that on top of my weekly sessions. Having like 90 sessions a month of once-offs where they're paying you more is essentially the same as online training now. And so now online training, we generally charge weekly or monthly, but these guys were paying me a larger sum of money, which would, divided down over a period of month, would be the equivalent of about $50 to $60 online training rate. When I got to the big gym, that we were very lucky to come into it at the boom of Facebook marketing. So when it started. So it was kind of like hit a button, put up an ad looking for 5 people, and you get 100 applicants, like within 2 days. So the golden age, I called it, because leads were like 50 cents and everyone would just buy it. It was great. What happened with the influx of leads is I never considered the fact that maybe the other coaches didn't have these inbuilt retention strategies or skills there. I was screening people and meeting new people and selling new people every single day. Like some weeks I'd sell like 30 into the gym from the phone calls and then coming in. But we'd sign 50, lose 40 each month. And I was like, after a couple of months, first month I was like, oh, whatever, it just happens. Like we're getting all these people and I'm sure it'll work out in the end. But then it just kind of kept on going on. So at that point, I realized, damn, what are we doing wrong? What do we need to do to actually to actually keep clients for a longer period of time? Because, we were edging towards that $1 million facility. We were edging, dropping. And as a business owner, it's incredibly frustrating knowing that you can succeed and then not knowing why you haven't succeeded, or realizing that there's a massive hole in your boat that you need to plug. And then basically what I want to share today is those systems and strategies that I started developing all the way back then, which we refine and still, I still teach today to everyone that I work with.
Nice, man. What a great story. And man, being able to have that many clients on top of all your, in-person, no wonder you were the multi-time Australia Trainer of the Year. And retention, oh my God, it's such a crucial element of a successful fitness business. But so many trainers overlook it. And in your opinion, Paul, why do so many coaches struggle with retention? And what are the first steps that they should take in order to improve it?
Good question. So the first reason that most people struggle with retention is it's not sexy. It's not sexy. Getting leads is sexy. Having a good campaign and do all that stuff it's attractive. Going that I'm going to spend $200 in ads and I'm going to bring in $12K in return on ad spend. You can sell that to anyone, which is, most people will go for that because it's the exact same as investing in crypto. You put this in, you pull that out. That's awesome. The retention is harder because it requires effort for a long-term sustained thing, and you don't see an increase in short-term result. So if I keep someone for 1 week longer, let's just assume we're charging $100, just to make the maths really simple for us. Mm-hmm. If I assume we can keep someone for 1 week longer, my income doesn't increase. it still stays at whatever it is. That $100 still stays there. What most people don't do, and it's the same thing with the actual fitness journey themselves, is people don't have the ability to future project and delay gratification. It's a very hard thing to do, to delay gratification, which is why so many clients struggle to achieve their fitness goals. If we retain clients, what happens is that money stretches out over a longer period of time to be a massive impact. So with some of the students I worked with, like the ones who would sell like 12-week packages, who were struggling with their retention because people were dropping off at 12 weeks, like every single time, I was just striking the word 12-week out their language, because as soon as it did that, increased their retention, because they had set an expectation in their client's mind that this only goes to 12 weeks, when really fitness lasts forever. Fitness doesn't have an end goal, in my opinion. Like, unless you win the CrossFit Games or Olympic medal or a bodybuilding comp, like the Olympia, that's when you can be finished. Apart from that, for most of us, it's not the thing.
Yeah.
With that, I really started looking into where those things are happening. And my longest client, I've been in this industry for 21 years. She's been with me for 21 years. I have another couple of a bunch are at 20, a bunch are at 19. I still have online clients now who have been with me. They're still from the original gym. Bunch follow me from the gym. Whenever I see them, they always bring their hoodies and my gym branded, which is horrendously upsetting, but because I wish they'd wear the new stuff, but they don't. So having that retention, like, it has that longer term stability for trainers, and stability is not as attractive as growth. Mm-hmm. So with how we break it down into retention, what I kind of look at is I break it down into a couple of main categories. The first one being the offer, and how does the offer affect retention? Then the second one is the actual understanding of where the client is, and how does that affect retention? And then the third category is what actual tools do you use to solve the problem to keep them for longer? And then the fourth one I'd say would be the creation of quality onboarding and retention automated strategies that also help nurture the client while you do nothing. So, yeah, you go.
No, go ahead. I was just saying, okay, so those are some of the key indicators that a trainer's retention strategy is working when they hit those key KPIs, basically, for those particular things. And then how do you measure success in those particular areas?
My easiest measure for success is weekly recurring revenue. I keep it really, really basic, and client number. And cancellations. Whenever I get my students sending me their stuff, I actually get told off by a lot of people, but I don't really focus on leads a lot of the time. There's some students, I'm like, that's not my thing. I want to keep your clients. Like, if you're good, you will get leads. And when you got to the point where your business is unreal, someone else is better than me, because then you can scale. Okay. That's when your business basically has no holes in it. That's when you should go hard on it in terms of growing it. Because if you don't grow it fast when you've got all these holes, you're going to lose a lot of that money. That's weekly recurring revenue. You're going to burn a lot of people. So in business, burning people is not a good idea. So the first thing that I kind of put together over that period of time was, with the customers, how does the offer make a difference? Okay, because the offer and how you sell, Hormozi talks about really well. Like, if it's a killer offer, you can suck at sales, people just buy it. And the example I always use is COVID. Like, I don't know if it was the same for you guys in California, but like in Australia, you couldn't get toilet paper or hand sanitizer anyway. No one was selling it. There was no offer. It was just there. Everyone just wanted it because it was the thing that we wanted, right? We wanted to be able to wipe our butts and have clean hands. So it was really, really easy for that thing to be sold. They couldn't keep up with demand. Mm-hmm. If our offer is really good in fitness, like if I said to someone on the street, hey, I'll PT you 5 days a week for $5, everyone's going to say yes. It's going to be easy. So with the offer, I always look at how do we make a multi-tiered offer that addresses a client's concerns at each different level. So like a low ticket, a medium ticket, and a high ticket. And do you have a way to ascend and descend your client through that? Mm-hmm. Because clients' needs will change over time. Their disposable income will change over time. Their goals will change over time. So if you have a way to put them, or a service to put them in, it's automatically going to improve your retention, because quite often people don't know what we do fully as coaches, and how many different ways that we can help them. They assume we can only do one thing, and a lot of the time they move on. That realization came to me in two different ways when running the gym, because I'd already done it in the commercial space. I was already had clients doing programming type stuff. This guy was kind of like, those clients who come in who just light up the gym and everyone loves, like the people that everyone loves. He was a key referrer. He loved it. He had all our merchandise and all that kind of stuff. He just didn't show up for a couple of weeks. First week I was like, oh, he's sick, he's fine, like it's okay. And then we started calling him and texting him and doing all the things that you meant to do, and he just didn't answer. And then I saw on Facebook that he was at another gym. He was still paying us, but he was at another gym. And I commented on the link and I went on the post and I went ... And then I DM'd him straight away. I'm like, dude, what's going on? And he's like, oh, I'm really sorry. I really want to focus on powerlifting. And you guys don't do that. So I went to his powerlifting gym and I still just wanted to pay you guys because I loved what you did. I was like, okay, well, I can't take your money. Well, I could, but I didn't take his money because it wasn't the right thing to do. But it bothered me because just like about 6 to 8 weeks beforehand, we had taken a bunch of clients to a powerlifting meet, and one of the girls set a national record in a deadlift.
Wow.
It was a pretty good deadlift, I'll be fair. I think she was like 130 something at like 50 or 48 kilos. She was really little, but really good levers.
Yeah.
But that really bothered me at that time because he didn't realize what we did. And I was like, how was that not communicated to the client? How was he not aware that he could go through that? And then with the other thing that made me realize it was we're in an area of Sydney that had a lot of transient employees. So in Sydney, you've got the Sydney City CBD, and then just across the other side of the Harbour Bridge, you've got North Sydney, which is another commercial business area, but people go in and out of it all the time. Like CBD, they send to work there. In North Sydney, they come in and then they move to the next place. It's like a contractor's area, I guess. And we were right next to that. So we had clients come in, they'd stay around, and then they'd move on to the next project when they couldn't come to us anymore. So I was like, we need to have an online option for people to do that, which we use an app. We were training people with an app in the gym. So like, why are we not have a low ticket option so people can still train with us if they want that? Why do we not have a one-on-one PT option if someone wants something more specialized and more closer attention? So the first thing I did was make sure that we had, and I do it with all my students now, make sure we have multiple tiers of offering that address the needs of the niche that you're working with. The difference now that I would say most people get is the solutions and the problem solved are very, very similar across the niche. The level of individualization and personal attention changes.
Okay.
So if you're doing you do any coaching with a client, like a low ticket service to a client you don't do much individualization, right? They get like a plan they follow, they get their macros they follow, or whatever it is. They get like a video course or a bunch of information. You could get a high ticket client and do the exact same thing with them, except you'd individualize the training program more. You'd give them more feedback on nutrition, and you'd actually be face to face with that client, or Zoom to Zoom, or text message, or Viber, or whatever it is, and you'd be readily available to answer their problems. Just by doing that alone, having those different levels of service, it increases my clients' sales rates when they're struggling with a client to close. But then if a client has a change in situation, this is the more important one for me. If they have a change in their situation or circumstance, they have an opportunity to ascend or descend them, which I think is a really, really useful strategy and one that a lot of people miss out on.
Yeah, having that whole ascension model. And Russell Brunson is one who's like really brought that to life in the marketing world, with his marketing secrets and, all those different type of books. I have all his books.
He's very, very good.
Yeah. And now obviously some of those things have been kind of like, outdated and there's different things in there now, but coming and bringing that to life. And that's why it's so important. And what I like to tell coaches too is, at least for the online, if you're really, unless you have a huge following where you just want to have like a bunch of low ticket stuff and like kind of have hands off, is have like more of a premium offer that you have. And then have a lower ticket that you can use as a downsell, because not everybody is going to be able to financially, it's going to be financially feasible. So having that downsell will be huge. And that way you don't have to like literally let everybody go. And maybe you can do it where you have some pre-built programs and it's not going to be as much customization and not as much you time. But then you're going to have some other clients that just want that you time and they want that customization and they want that training and that extra accountability that is so wonderful. And that's what, some of the beauty of it is. So go ahead.
I was saying, absolutely. I agree. It's perfect.
Yeah. And Paul, just so you know too, when you hit the table, it does a feedback thing.
Oh, right. My bad.
It's okay. No worries. And can you share one or two game-changing strategies that coaches can implement either right now or to keep their clients engaged and coming back for more? And that, some of that might be that ascension model that you were talking about and descension model, or it might be something else.
Yep. The first one that we do and that I teach, and this one took one coach who was doing like 20,000, 10,000, 18, 8, all the way up to 40K months very, very consistently. Again, I did zero with his sales. I did zero with his lead generation. It was, implementing a system of client levels. Okay. And client levels is really, really simple. I broke everyone down into level 1, 2, 3 clients. And I said, these are the appropriate training strategies. These are the appropriate nutrition strategies. These are the appropriate mindset strategies. These are the appropriate accountability strategies. These are the appropriate check-in requirements. That there helps people out so quickly and helps trainers out so quickly because there's a couple of key advantages to it. Number one, categorization of people is helpful. It's not perfect, but it is very helpful because realistically, people are more alike than they are dissimilar. Like me and you right now, we look different, but we've got a lot of characteristics that are the same. We've got eyes, ears, nose, mouth, etc. Clients will be in the same boat. So the level 1 clients, having a really simple system to do that where it's less complicated than what we think they need is going to allow them to stick to the things with far more ease. And if you get that right and give people strategies that they feel very comfortable doing, that they're confident in doing, and that they will do effectively, what happens is they end up sticking around. Okay. And this will go into the next game changer because they kind of both fit together really nicely here. The level 2 clients are the ones who are a bit like, they're kind of like the ideal ones for online coaching, to be honest. They're the ones who know their way around the gym, they know their way around the kitchen, and they know how to do some basic stuff. So you can teach them, meal tracking, macro tracking, meal planning. You can give them more advanced periodization. You can do lots of fun stuff with them. Having strategies that works for them and education stuff is really good. The level 3 clients are the ones who are like, I want to get on stage. I want to win a powerlifting meet. This is like one of the top 1 to 3 values in my life. They're the ones that you can be you can be a menace with. You can give them anything and they'll go, yes, sir, no, sir, how high, no high. But what most trainers do, and what I found with analyzing a lot of coaches' programs, is everything was geared towards level 2.5 and above, and the level 1s were not really catered for. And this then fits into the onboarding strategy. So with the level 1s not being catered for from a training strategy or a nutrition strategy, like if you give someone who's never been in gym before a macro ratio and a training program that has undulating periodization, for example, they're not going to know what to do. Like they're just going to like, this is way too hard. I'm going to quit. The flip side of that is they're also, besides not knowing strategies, even if they can work it out, the onboarding needs to be sweet at that point. It needs to be really good because the first 2 to 4 weeks for any online client are the danger zone in which they're going to quit. Okay. So the onboarding for the first 2 to 4 weeks needs to be pristine and really well thought out because at that stage, they're still like quite unsure about changing. They're not going to become an advocate for the business in 2 weeks or 4 weeks. It can take anywhere from 6 to 18 weeks to become an advocate where they're referring based on what you're doing. With the onboarding strategies, I focus on how can we make it for a level 1 client that basically can understand everything that they need to do, everything that you do, and then how you can communicate with that person in a particular way. So the onboarding strategy I teach would be first thing that they do as soon as they sign up is they get like a very comprehensive guide on how to use the damn app, particularly if you're working with anyone over 45. Just because apps, I own a gym currently in another state in Australia, and our audience is 50 plus. Like it has done my head in so many times trying to explain how to use the app to this audience. I've literally gone back to using a whiteboard and instructing the coaches to write the workouts up on the whiteboard. Just because the majority of the members at some sessions are like 65 plus. So they're not going to jump on the app. It's not in there. They just can't be bothered. It's the easiest way to describe it. So in the onboarding, make sure they know exactly how to use the app. Second thing we want to do is make sure they know exactly what the expectations are of them as a client and the expectations they can have of us as a coach. If expectations are clear and done in a friendly way, not like if you don't do this, you're fired or anything like that. It just allows them to be really confident in what they do. How they do a check-in is delivered. So these are the things that we need for a check-in. This is why it's important. This is how to do it. It's only going to take this amount of time. You'll be okay. And then what I do is I actually use a slightly different check-in method to most trainers. And this really fits in well for the level 1s. For the level 2s, I don't bother. I actually, for the first 4 weeks, offer any level 1 client, and I recommend everyone do this, instead of a check-in like Loom video, I do a scheduled Zoom call every single time for the first 4 weeks. The reason why I do that is if I can solve someone's issues in the first 4 weeks and they understand how to do everything, the chances of them leaving plummet. Like it's a massive, massive change. From there, then we go to Loom videos because then Loom videos in like an email / text, whatever, however your app works, follow up, because at that time people feel confident. I still leave a booking link available that they can still book a call if necessary, but I try not to like encourage it. And then after 4 weeks of that, after what I found from analyzing the stupid number of Looms that I've sent is after 4 weeks, viewership comes down because people, the first time you get a Loom from someone, you're like, oh, this is fun, this is exciting, it's a video. Then after a couple of weeks, you're like, oh God, Paul again, I'm sick of that guy. Maybe that's just me, but that's what I found with most coaches too. So after we did the Loom and the instructions, then I moved to a 3 times a week text check-in cadence. And this text check-in cadence basically allows the client to feel like they're top of mind 3 times a week, at least, to get their questions answered. And then also for the trainer, condenses the amount of time that they spend per client per week. So for a beginner client, like if someone's a beginner and they're paying X, I think it's really good that they get a little bit more time, because that time spent at the beginning, gets reduced at the end. You don't have to, or later on, because they feel confident, and the quickest thing that they do is they trust you then. If they trust their online coach is going to answer their questions in a timely manner and give them the tools that they need to succeed, they don't need to be on the phone with you or Zoom all the time. So 4 weeks of Zoom, 4 weeks of Loom / email text, and then we go to a weekly text check-in cadence. The Monday message is like, hey Paul, how you doing? Hope you had a good weekend, man. Just a reminder that this week your focuses are this, and I put down the 3 things, or one to 3 things that we do from the check-in. On Wednesday, hey Paul, how you doing? Hope you happy hump day, blah, blah, blah. Just how are you going with your 10,000 steps? Let's assume it's that. Any problems so far, or anything that you need to let me know about so I can help you out? So on the Monday, I've let the client know that A, I'm thinking about them. B, I'm aware of their goals and reminding them what they have to do. Wednesday, I'm checking in and going, hey, I'm just seeing you having any problems with this so I can solve this problem today so you don't have to mess around with it. And then on Friday, it's like, hey, Tobias, how you doing, man? Check-in due soon. I'll give you a response within 24 hours of getting it. Hope you're having a good week, man. And then to get the check-in, response to the check-in, literally by that time, gets sent to simple text or like text messaging check-in on the app. Yep. By doing that system and implementing that with people, with the strategy appropriate to the level, it has made everything so quick for building up a client's trust in online training and their coach, actually solving their needs, and then also creating a framework for retention. Because if a client learns everything they need to learn in the first 12 weeks, why do they need to come back? Like, I ask a lot of coaches that question, and they're like, oh, because they like the programming. I'm like, bro, they can get your programming off Renaissance Periodization's app or Lane Norton's app for like $10 a month. Like, they're not going to like the programming that much. The programming isn't even that important. Like, it's super important to me from like my emotional bias, but for a client, they don't care. They say, oh, cool. They'll do whatever program it is. As long as they do it well, they're going to get some outcome. That's the beauty of what we do. Building that personal connection and that trust, and having the client perceive you as a trusted advisor who is available for them, has their best interests at top of mind, and then has an actual ascending list of strategies that you can take them through to move them towards their fitness goals. Level 1, which is like habits and like learning this is a protein, to basic portion control, to basic calorie counting, to basic macronutrients, to then nutrient timing, to then supplementation, to whatever. Having these things there, it allows you to keep clients for a very long time. And from a coaching and content creation standpoint, if you're struggling for content creation, just talk about what you do with your clients, because that will appeal to people. And you never get to the point where you're like, oh, damn, what do I do with this person next? Because you've already got it kind of mapped out as a basic structure. So once the client's achieved this and they've started hitting those goals, cool, these are the next things that we can work on. So it creates a really nice structure, and the combination of those 2 things works really well for people.
Yeah. I love the fact that you have it like periodized, where it's like, the Zoom calls in the very beginning and then kind of like going in there. And keep in mind, you guys, that a lot of the, the training apps like PT Distinction or My Coach AI or Trainer, whatever you use, right? A lot of them also have where you can drip feed kind of like messaging in there too, to make it easier, because obviously there's going to be certain things that you're going to say to every single client along the way. So it's going to be like, hey, we're a day in or we're 2 days in, just want to check in. How's everything coming along? Like, you can pre-program some of these things, but you also want to have a personal touch with it as well. So you want to be able to have, if somebody's working on steps or somebody's working on protein or, the water consumption, you have to still add that personal connection and touch in there. I love it. The one thing that has really, really helped me with the clients that need the training apps, right, is actually filming a walkthrough video of the actual app and then literally hey, this is how you're going to log in. This is where you log your food. This is where you're going to find your workouts. This is how you'll communicate. And then setting that initial onboarding call with them where you also do it again and you just literally walk them through the app, get them super, obviously used to using the app. So that way they can message you with any questions. And then if you have your weekly Zoom calls, then you can just touch up if they forget, oh, where do I go for the progress photos again? Oh, let me walk you through it real quick. So that's great. It's combining those type of things. Because if you don't have to spend so much time on just getting leads and getting new clients in, then how much better service can you give your clients? Because now you have this retention, and ultimately it's going to be all based on the lifetime value of your client. Even if you have a high amount of new clients coming in, if they're dropping off, you are not going to be getting testimonials because you're not going to be getting results. You're not going to be getting referrals. You're not going to be getting 5-star reviews. And those are the things that are the catalyst to your business and natural organic growth. So keep in mind, it's much better to have less people coming in, but exceptional value and just that amazing client retention. So I love everything that you're saying, man. And behavior change is often the missing piece when it comes to helping clients achieve their goals. And what's your approach to being able to facilitating lasting behavior change in clients? And then how can trainers start to incorporate this into their coaching?
Yeah, I'll give my exact tool. That is why we're here. So the first thing with behavior change, it is really important because that's what we're doing. It's changing behavior. And if we understand how to do that, then we can create change for pretty much anyone at any time. So there's a couple of key principles that I use, and we follow these, everyone works. The first one is to quickly identify the two different types of coaching models, which are client-centered and coach-centered. Coach-centered is the old school drill sergeant who yells at you, run your laps after you've dropped the football or whatever, do what I say. All the coaches coach like that. Now for bodybuilding competition, that's perfect, right? Because you don't want, if you listen to your feelings in bodybuilding, you're doing it wrong, right? I'm starving, I've had no carbs for 6 weeks, I'm not going to push for a leg day. And then
suck it up,
princess, and then go do your damn leg day anyway. And then you eat your cream of rice and your protein powder and then your tilapia and you're lean shredded. Most clients aren't in that situation. So they need to go into a client-centered model. And when the client-centered model means the client is involved in the change process, they're involved in deciding what the change is and the level of the change. Our job as a facilitator at that point is to make sure that the client realizes that, number one, they're the cause of the problem. Number two, they can then be they can be the solution as well. And number three, match the level to match the change to what the client is capable of doing. If you can do those things, you're golden, because one thing clients do when it comes to change is when they hire us is they go all or nothing. And they're like, I'm going to change my whole life. I'm going to buy all organic. I'm going to do 20,000 steps a day and start meditating my ass back at 3 a.m. Ain't going to happen. It isn't going to happen. I have a client that I still deal with this. I was dealing with today who makes the same mistake again and again. It doesn't work with everyone. This person's not incredibly self-aware when it comes to this, but he's always, I'm going to do everything perfectly. And then every week he sends 10 things he fails at. I'm like, dude, you don't need to do this. It's a long-term process with some people, but for most people, they get it really quickly. So first thing, client-centered model. Next one is to then go through 3 communication frameworks that you'll put someone through to work it out. And you can do this on Zoom, you can do it via text, you can do it via so many different ways. Even check-in forms can do it. The first thing I always do is use a framework which I call the SICK protocol, because it's SICK. It's specific, impact, change, or continue. If I can get there we go, 4 fingers. Basically, what I want the client to do is with their problem, I want to identify what it is. I want the client to then realize the impact it's making on their results. I don't want to tell them because no one likes being lectured to. And then I want to ask them if they want to change or continue. So let's just say, Tobias, I've got a food diary there, and I'm going to pretend that you're a real life client that I once had. Okay. And I see your food journal for your first week, and I notice that every single day you're having a large packet of Doritos for breakfast. Okay? This is a real life client. My first thing to do, or my first instinct as a coach, is to go, what are you doing? Don't you know Doritos are just terrible for you? It's a calorie bomb. You shouldn't be eating that for breakfast. You should be having protein. You should be having this and that. That's every trainer's first instinct, to admonish and discipline the client. No one wants to hear that. They're adults. And generally what I always say is if a client can afford your services, they're generally a fairly successful adult. Like they've gotten somewhere. So they've got some degree of intelligence. So talking down to them is probably not going to be the best use of anyone's time. So the specific is I'll ask, so Tobias, tell me, you have Doritos for breakfast every day. Can you tell me a little more about that? So I approach it from a non-judgmental point of view. I just want to find out more about it. You can use this with drinking alcohol at night. You can do it with any circumstance. You just want to find out what's specifically going on. And once you found that out, that helps orientate the coaching in a few ways, because let's just say it's not the Doritos. It's eating chocolate every day after work, like a lot of chocolate. Eating chocolate every day, why is that? Oh, my boss is a horrible person. Then you know that there's an emotional relationship with food. So the specific allows you to break it down.
Yep.
The impact is where you put on your coach's hat and use all the knowledge that you have. And you say, so Tobias, man, tell me, how's your weight loss going now that you're eating a packet of Doritos every day? And you'll say it's not, and it's not going well. How's your energy throughout the day? Terrible. How's it, whatever it is, however it would affect the person physiologically, you ask questions about that and get them to give you the feedback. So if it's a guy who's drinking 15 beers a night, how's your sleep? Terrible. How's your libido? What libido? How's your recovery the next day? I don't have recovery. What muscle's that? Where is it? I don't know how to train it. How's your training in the gym? Man, I don't go in the morning. I'm hungover. Would you go to the gym after 15 beers? Like it's very easy to give someone to ask questions where they actually say how terrible they're feeling or how much it's impacting them. And one of the most powerful catalysts for change for a person is when they realize they're the problem. Example I use with a lot of clients is my brother. Totally the opposite of me. He's a farmer who lives out in the middle of nowhere, who hunts for a hobby and is like all super gruff. And he's like Bear Grylls crossed with Liver King. That's how I describe his look. He used to smoke 2 packs a day. Like that's a lot of cigarettes. And in Australia, I don't know if it's the same over there, the packets have literally got pictures of like decaying lungs on them, and they're just horrendous to look at. Everyone knows smoking is bad for you. The thing that took him and gave him the impetus to change was the fact that when he was hunting one day and he was chasing after something, he just couldn't do it anymore. He fell over and nearly died. And then he nearly had a heart attack basically at age like 34. And then he cold turkey that day because he's like, if I keep on doing this behavior, there's no way I continue doing the things that I get paid for, and B, I love to do. So with a client, as soon as they realize that the alcohol, the chocolate, the Doritos, the whatever, not drinking any water, not eating any protein, whatever you find on the food journal or the macro guide or whatever it is, has an impact on them, they have this moment where they go, damn it, that's my fault. I did this. And it's really making me feel like crap. Cool. Once they got to that point where they feel terrible, you go, do you want to change or continue? Okay. And most people will say change. About 95% of people will say change. Continue basically means they're not in the stage of change yet where they're ready to make a difference. With some clients, I try and ask open-ended questions to provoke that. For some of them, I just go, you know what? You're actually changing by starting to train in the gym and you're starting to do this. So you're doing enough. You don't need to do everything right now. Let's park that until X. Now, with the change or continue, if someone says change, the general strategy that clients do is to go, I'm going to quit cold turkey. I'm going to change everything overnight. I'm going to start doing 20 minutes of cardio 6 days a week. Like it's always here. Our goal as coaches is shrink it to here. They can tick that box and they can it's nearly too easy to succeed, because if a client does succeed at something, it then starts creating that autonomy, intrinsic motivation, and mastery of that concept. Let's say we're using the 15 beer person. They say they're going to go cold turkey. I'll use the framework from Precision Nutrition, ready, willing, and able. Are they ready to change? Are they willing to do that? And are they able logistically? And I break that down with everyone because the ready makes me know that they're in the right stage of change to get rid of that habit. The willing, how do they want to do it? So 15 beers down to 0 beers. Oh, I don't really want to do that. Oh, could you do 6? Yeah, 6 is fine. And then they'll probably do 4 because it's so easy. They'll actually, I could do that. They'll progress faster. The able is an important one that a lot of trainers don't worry about. which I do, which is it's all about logistics. So if you are you actually able to do that? So for example, if you had like a single mom who worked 2 jobs, who had 3 kids, who said they were going to start changing their life by walking 10,000 steps every day and getting to the gym 4 times a week, are you actually able to do that? They may want to do that, they may be ready to do that, but because of their demands in their life, they may not be able to do that. So our goal is always to shrink the level of change to something that's achievable for the client. And once you learn that process with someone, so specific impact change, ready, willing, able, that literally becomes a check-in. That process becomes faster and faster, and the clients can actually be asked the question, and after a while they go, shut up, Paul, I know what you're going to ask. Once they know, then they can actually break down those processes themselves. And then the only questions that we get asked are like, hey, I've got this problem. What's the best way to solve that? And then we can just be very data orientated and very practical. And that allows people to really start to become the agents of their own change. And according to psych research, people actually perceive us as having a higher degree of expertise if we just ask them questions versus give them information. If from a retention point of view, they trust us, we've given them a framework that works, we've realized that we've helped them realize they're the agent of their own change, they start to develop intrinsic motivation, autonomy, and mastery. They then somehow, because of how cool brains are, associate all that with the fact that they hired us as a coach. Why would they leave? The only time they leave at that point is when it's purely financial. Like they buy a house or they have twins or something like that, and they got to spend a bunch of money. So with retention, like to bring it all full circle, we've got like our practical strategies that we do. We have our setup of our business and setup of our offers that we do. But then the communication strategies, which like anyone from today, from listening to this with a bit of practice, could really nail specific impact change, continue, ready, willing, and able, and actually start giving clients change straight away. Those clients will get better results very, very quickly. And as soon, this is something I always used to do in real life, because obviously online you can't do this anymore, is I used to focus a bit heavy on the corrective exercise movement stuff, because I could solve problems really, really quickly. When I was consulting someone in real life, I can't, in real life, as much as I wish I could, I can't make a noticeable difference to someone's fat loss or muscle gain in real life very quickly. It's a timely process. If I want to show my client value quickly, but I can make a change in one area, movement is the fastest, because you can coach someone into a movement, you can do corrective exercise. There's lots of strategies. What it does psychologically is it shows that, hey, Paul solved this problem that I had around deadlifting. Paul probably could solve the problem around weight loss and muscle gain. So it creates that association that my service in my skill set is invaluable to said client to achieve all their goals based on a psychocognitive bias, which they use to think that I'm an expert in everything, which I'm going to use to my advantage, because there's nothing wrong with that. It's how human nature is. So if we're doing online coaching, if we can make them feel comfortable and supported with the Zoom calls, sending a video of the app is something we do as well, which I forgot to mention. That's a brilliant idea. Walking them through, we should probably do that. So I'm going to have to start doing that now. Thank you. Doing that type of stuff and having those systems there, then being able to communicate to them in a way where they start seeing changes straight away in their behavior, your attention goes skyrockets, and the amount of testimonials, social proof, and clients talking positive about you, that makes money.
Yep. And referrals. Yep.
Yeah. I love ads. I love all the digital marketing type stuff. I'm a big fan of it, but I still firmly believe that social proof is the biggest thing that drives all of those things. And if your social proof can, drive more referrals, you can use that for advertising in itself. Like, I'm not the expert in that, but I've never seen a business that has a bucket ton of positive social proof really struggle.
Yep, I agree. And you've been in the industry for quite some time, Paul. And
Yes.
what's been one of the biggest lessons that you've learned about retention, client success, or running a business that you think that every single coach needs to know?
Yep. I actually thought about this question. No, you didn't write it down. I've thought about this because it was going to be a piece of content. So more than happy to share it here. It's not the amount that you know, it's how you can communicate it. So we haven't really touched on physiological stuff too much today, which is totally cool. That was like my first love. I always consider that my first love in the fitness industry. And like, if I could talk to someone about, electron management and stuff like that and weight loss, I would. But it's not really useful for clients. So for the first like 12 years, like I was good at getting people results and good at doing things. And then when I got into the gym, it started getting bigger and bigger. I realized that a lot of the time I wasn't communicating things to a client in a way that they could understand and actually encourage change. So similar to this specific impact change and ready, willing, able, I was just telling them what was. So I would talk at someone, not with, at someone for like 15 minutes about the importance of managing insulin, managing cortisol and micronutrient status and all this type of stuff without actually giving them anything to change. Yeah. And giving them any strategies to change or anything like that. So it was never the information I knew. That was the problem. It was the delivery of it. So whenever I learn something now, whether it's marketing, business, sales, physiology, training, nutrition, whatever, I go, cool. How does that translate itself into a practical standpoint? Okay. If we look at the sales stuff, like how does sick, we just learned sick, how does that improve our sales? Cool. Well, we can find a problem for the client and allow them to identify it, and then we can position our solution or our service as a solution to those problems. Great. That's a great way to really embody that. It's physiology, like something physiological I learned now. Brain-derived neurotropic factor from cardio. Cool. I've learned that. That's exciting. What would I actually give my client to do that would help improve that? And B, how would I communicate that in the value? And C, how would I give them a way that they could actually know that's working? So everything that I learn and do now, it's not so much about what the information is as its own valuable property, because information itself is becoming less and less valuable just purely because of ChatGPT and the internet. It knows more than we know, unfortunately. How we can communicate that to the person in a way that facilitates change 10 times out of 10 has never hurt any business proposition, whether it's a sale for a client, sales consult, whether it's a coaching session, even the marketing material, like organic marketing, you're going to talk about something. I don't care about how smart you sound. I care about, is it something that a client can take away, creates awareness of your brand, but then they can make a change with. If you can orientate everything around that, your business, it doesn't become more successful in 2 days, but it certainly becomes more successful over the long term.
Yeah, it's just being able to get your clients to understand the process too, because I agree with you 1,000%. Is sometimes, especially in the very beginning, I used to do the same thing where you would give them information, but you wouldn't help them with the implementation. So there was not the reason and the why, and then this is how we can make this work for you. It's just like, don't eat sugar. Like,
yeah, for a level 3, for a level 3, that works. Like you tell a bodybuilder, eat fish oil, they're like, all right, cool. And they'll just do it because they have no emotions, or their results are so important and the emotions don't matter. But if you say it to someone who has no idea what a fish oil is, okay, and they just don't do it. So yeah, implementation is everything.
Yes. And Paul, this has been such an insightful conversation. I absolutely love it. You're such a knowledgeable dude. Where can listeners learn more about you, about the amazing work that you do with Ascend Education PT, and how should somebody connect with you?
Cool. It's I think it's Ascend Education PT. It's Ascend_education on Instagram, or the Paul Meldrum on Instagram. The Paul Meldrum is more like an overall thing where I talk about business, fitness, psychology, and hip hop stuff as well for reasons that are known only to me. Combined, or Facebook. They're the two easiest places. We're currently in the throes of rebuilding the website and the offer at the moment. So I don't really encourage people to go there because there's not much to learn at the moment. Just most of the stuff, just on Facebook and Instagram. The Paul Meldrum, Ascend_education, or Paul Meldrum on Facebook are more than enough to find out enough about me.
Nice. I love it. And Paul, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. And I know our audience is going to walk away with some actionable strategies to be able to really improve their client retention, to be able to deliver better client results, and ultimately build more successful fitness businesses. Don't forget to connect with Paul on Instagram at Ascend_education PT, and then check out Ascend Education PT for more resources. And for all of you listening, if you found value in this episode, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a friend who could benefit. Together, you guys, we can help elevate the entire fitness industry. Thanks for tuning into the FitBiz Accelerator podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the FitBiz Accelerator. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a tip or strategy to grow your online fitness business. And if you're ready to fast track your success, don't forget to check out tntfitprocoaching.com. Until next time, stay consistent, stay focused, and keep crushing it.